No one on the planet Pyros 9 believed in miracles. From the day they were born, every child was taught the same lesson again and again. The universe was cruel. Survival belonged only to logic, strength, and science. Anything else was a lie meant to comfort the weak. Pyros 9 was a world of fire, and fire had no mercy. The sky was always red, thick with ash and heat. The ground was cracked and black, burning to the touch. Firestorms crossed the land like living monsters, melting metal and stone. Long ago, the oceans had boiled away. Only a few great cities remained, sealed under massive shields that fought the heat every second of every day. Outside those shields, death waited patiently. One of those cities was called Ash City. Deep inside its lower levels lived a young alien child named Kiro. He was small for his age and often sick. His skin was pale blue and dry from the heat. He lived with his family in a narrow shelter where the air was thin and power often failed. From a small window, Kiro could see the burning sky. He watched it every day and wondered why the planet hated them so much. At the learning hall, Kiro sat quietly while the teacher showed old images on a cracked screen. Planets destroyed by stars. Civilizations erased by time. Species that once believed they were special, now nothing but dust. The teacher's voice was cold and steady. He said survival belonged only to those who accepted reality. He said hope was dangerous. A student raised her hand and asked a forbidden question. She asked about miracles. The room went silent. The teacher stared at her for a long moment, then shook his head. He said miracles did not exist. He said they were stories told by foolish minds that could not accept the truth. He ordered the children to repeat his words. Most did, Kiro did not. He stayed silent, his heart beating fast. Kiro remembered a story his parents told him once in whispers, late at night. A story about humans. Humans were strange beings from a distant blue planet. They were weak compared to many species. They had no claws, no thick skin, no natural weapons. By all logic, they should have disappeared long ago. But they did not. They survived ice, fire, war, and darkness. They adapted when others failed. Long ago, humans had visited Pyros 9 to study the dying world. They tried to help, but the planet was already too broken. Before leaving, one human scientist spoke to a group of alien children. She smiled even as the heat burned the air around her. She said that even in fire, cold could come. Even in darkness, light could return. The elders later called her words meaningless. But Kiro never forgot them. The hottest time of the year arrived. A period called End Cycle Week. During this time, the heat shields struggled to survive. Power systems failed across Ash City. Warning sirens screamed without rest. People crowded together in fear. Scientists worked until exhaustion, trying to keep the city alive. Outside the shields, the land burned brighter than ever. Kiro sat with his family in their shelter as the walls vibrated from distant firestorms. The air was so hot it hurt to breathe. His mother held his hand tightly. His father watched the ceiling, listening for signs of failure. Everyone knew that if the shields fell, there would be no escape. Then something strange happened. The sirens changed their sound. Not louder, but confused. Sensors across the city began reporting impossible numbers. Temperatures were dropping. Not slowly, but fast. Scientists shouted over each other, trying to understand. This had never happened before. Kiro moved to the window and looked up at the sky. The red color was fading. Thick, dark clouds were forming where there had never been clouds before. His mother followed his gaze and whispered that it was not possible. Pyros 9 had no weather like that. The atmosphere was too damaged. Clouds could not exist. A sudden tremble ran through the city. Then something touched Kiro's hand through the open-air vent. It was cold, wet. He looked down at his palm and saw a tiny white shape melting slowly against his skin. More fell, soft, silent, endless dots snow. The firestorms outside slowed, then stopped. Flames hissed as they were covered in white. The ground cracked and cooled. For the first time in history, Pyros 9 was quiet. People stepped outside their shelters in shock, ignoring safety warnings. Children laughed as cold filled the air. Many had never felt cold before. Kiro stood in the falling snow, unable to speak. His chest felt tight, but not from heat, from something new. Something warm inside him that had nothing to do with fire. He remembered the human's smile. He remembered her words. That night, every screen in Ash City turned on at once. Power flowed like it never had before. A single image appeared. A blue planet, a green tree, a symbol translated into every language. Christmas. Then a human voice filled the city. Calm, gentle, and strong. The voice spoke to the children of Piero's Nine. It said they were told miracles did not exist. It said humans were told the same thing once. Images followed of humans rebuilding after destruction, helping strangers, standing back up after falling again and again. The voice said miracles were not magic. They were choices. And today, humanity chose to help. The snow continued to fall, cooling the planet inch by inch. Fire became steam. Fear became silence. Hope spread quietly through the city, but far beneath Ash City, ancient machines awakened. Old systems blinked online, sending a signal into deep space. Something else had noticed the miracle. Something powerful. Something that did not believe humans should interfere. And it was coming. The snow did not stop when the message ended. It fell through the night and into the next cycle, covering the black ground with a soft white layer that reflected light instead of heat. For the first time in recorded history, Piero's Nine was cooling instead of burning. Scientists worked without rest, their hands shaking as data streams confirmed the impossible. Atmospheric pressure was stabilizing. Toxic gases were thinning. The planet was changing. In Ash City, people stepped outside without fear. Heat suits were removed and placed on the ground like relics from a dead age. Children touched the snow carefully, then laughed when it did not burn them. Elders cried openly. Some fell to their knees, not knowing how to react to a world that no longer wanted them dead. Kiro walked through the streets with his family, leaving footprints in the snow. Each step felt unreal. The air was clean and cold, filling his lungs without pain. He watched the sky, afraid it would suddenly return to red fire, but the clouds remained calm. For the first time, the planet felt alive in a gentle way. Human machines appeared in the upper atmosphere, massive but silent. They did not land. They stayed above the clouds, working without rest. Orbital mirrors redirected heat away from the surface. Atmospheric processors released balanced gases into the sky. Ice comets were guided with perfect control, breaking apart high above the cities and feeding the snowfall. This was not magic. It was careful, patient work. A second human message reached the cities. This time, it was not just a voice. A human face appeared on every screen. She was older than the scientist Kiro remembered, but her eyes were kind and tired. She explained that humans had been watching Piero's Nine for generations. They had waited, learned, and prepared. They did not act until they were sure they could help without destroying what remained. She said the process would take time. The planet could not be healed in one day, but it could be saved. Oceans might one day return. Life might grow again. Piero's Nine was not lost. Hope spread quickly, but not everyone welcomed it, deep under the city. In a forgotten chamber older than Ash City itself, the ancient signal grew stronger. The system was built long before humans ever reached the stars. It belonged to the Overseers, a powerful alliance that once ruled entire sectors of space. They believed life must follow strict rules. Weak worlds were allowed to die. Interference was forbidden. The signal reached an Overseer outpost hidden beyond a dead star. Cold minds received the data. A burning planet suddenly cooling. Human technology rewriting fate. The Overseer saw this not as mercy, but as rebellion. A fleet was assembled back on Piero's Nine. Small signs of danger appeared. Some machines deep underground began to overheat, not from fire, but from conflict with human systems. Scientists noticed energy spikes they could not explain. The human ships adjusted their work, but they did not shut down. Humanity had chosen its path. Kiro was visiting a temporary learning center when the sky flickered. A dark shape passed behind the clouds, too fast and too sharp to be human. Sensors screamed warnings. For a moment, fear returned. People remembered how fragile their hope still was. A new human transmission arrived, shorter and more serious. The human voice admitted the truth. Someone else was coming. Someone who did not believe Pyros 9 should be saved. The humans promised they would not leave. They said protection was part of their decision. In space, above the planet, human defense platforms activated. Sleek, silent structures unfolded like wings. Energy shields formed a protective shell around. Pyros 9 humanity had learned long ago that survival required. Standing firm when kindness was challenged, the Overseer fleet emerged from dark space. Massive and cold. Their ships were older than many civilizations. They did not speak at first. They simply moved closer, weapons charging, confident in their authority. A single human ship moved forward to meet them. It was small compared to the fleet, but it did not turn away. A message was sent, simple and clear. Pyros 9 was under human protection. Interference would not be accepted. The Overseers responded with silence. Then they fired. Space lit up with energy. Human shields held, bending but not breaking. Defensive systems responded with precise control, disabling weapons without destroying ships. Humanity did not seek extermination. They sought deterrence. On the surface, Kiro felt the ground shake slightly. He looked up at the snow-covered sky, sensing the battle he could not see. His heart raced, but he did not feel helpless. For the first time, someone was fighting for his world. The battle ended as suddenly as it began. The Overseer fleet withdrew, damaged and confused. They had expected fear and retreat. Instead, they found resistance backed by compassion. The human voice returned one final time that day. It told the people of Pyros 9 that this was only the beginning. There would be challenges ahead. Others might come, but humanity would stand with them, not as rulers, but as guardians, as night fell. The snow slowed, and the stars appeared, clearer than ever before. Kiro stood outside, staring into the sky. He understood now that miracles were not lies. They were actions taken by those who refused to look away, and somewhere far beyond the stars. The Overseers began to plan again. The days that followed were unlike anything Pyros 9 had ever known. The snow slowly melted into clean water, flowing through channels that had been dry for centuries. Steam rose into the air, not as a sign of destruction, but as a promise. The ground cooled and softened. Cracks sealed. Dark stone began to show hints of color beneath the ash. The planet was learning how to breathe again. Human ships remained in orbit, steady and watchful. They worked without rest, adjusting mirrors, shields, and atmospheric engines with careful balance. They did not rush the process. They had learned long ago that healing, whether of a world or a people, could not be forced. It had to be guided. In Ash City, shelters were opened and walls removed. The city no longer needed to hide from the sky. People walked freely under the clouds, feeling light rain for the first time in their history. Children played in shallow pools where snow had gathered and melted. Elders touched the wet ground in disbelief, remembering stories their ancestors once told and later forgot. Kiro spent his days helping where he could. He carried water, guided younger children, and listened to the humans when they spoke. Temporary learning centers were rebuilt into open halls filled with light. The lessons had changed. Teachers no longer spoke only of survival through strength. They spoke of cooperation, patience, and responsibility. One evening, I stood with others as a human shuttle landed outside Ash City. Humans stepped onto the surface of Pyros 9 for the first time since the miracle. They wore simple suits, not armor. Their movements were careful, respectful. The same human scientist from the message walked forward. Her hair was gray now, but her smile was the same. She knelt so she was eye level with the children. She told them she was proud of them. She said surviving for so long on a burning world took courage. She said the future would be built together. No species above another. No world left behind. But peace never goes unnoticed in a violent universe. Far away, beyond charts and known routes, the overseers gathered again. Their pride had been wounded. They saw humanity as dangerous, not because of weapons, but because of ideas. If humans could save dying worlds, then the overseers' rules meant nothing. Control would fade. Fear would fail. They did not attack again with fleets. They chose something quieter. A signal was sent across space, hidden inside trade routes and exploration data. It whispered a lie. It said humans were rewriting planets for control. It said miracles came with chains. Some species listened. Some believed. A shadow began to grow. On Piero's 9, the first sign of trouble came when human sensors detected interference. Small failures appeared in atmospheric systems, not from damage but from sabotage. Someone was trying to turn hope into disaster. The humans did not panic. They shared the truth with the people of Piero's 9. They explained that the universe was watching now. Not all eyes were friendly. Trust would be tested. Fear would try to return. Kiro listened closely. He remembered the old lessons about a cruel universe. He understood now that cruelty was a choice, just like kindness. He asked the human scientist what he could do. She placed a hand on his shoulder and said the most powerful thing anyone could do was remember. Remember who helped. Remember why? And refuse to become what once tried to destroy you. The overseers made their move quietly. They triggered ancient machines buried deep beneath the planet's crust. Relics from a time when Piero's 9 was only a resource to be measured and used. The machines began to heat the core, slowly and secretly, aiming to restart the fire. Human sensors detected it within hours. Teams moved fast. Humans and Piero's 9 scientists worked side by side, descending into depths no one had entered for generations. The heat grew stronger the deeper they went, but this time they were not alone. Kiro insisted on going with them. He was small and the tunnels were narrow. Where machines could not reach, he could. With guidance and trust, he crawled through ancient passages carrying tools and messages. Fear tried to take hold of him, but it did not win. At the deepest chamber, they found the core machine. It was old, powerful, and cruel in design. It did not care if the planet lived or died. It only followed orders written long ago. Together, human and alien hands worked to shut it down. Not with force, but with understanding. When the machine finally powered down, the planet responded. Heat levels stabilized. The ground stopped trembling. Above, the sky cleared, revealing stars brighter than ever before. The overseers felt the change. Their plan had failed. Again, this time they did not send ships or signals. They went silent. In that silence, many other species noticed something important. Humanity did not rule Piero's 9. They protected it. They listened. They stayed. Months passed. Small plants began to grow in protected zones. Water gathered into shallow seas. Life returned slowly, carefully. Piero's 9 was no longer a burning world. It was a healing one. One day, Kiro stood beneath a gentle snowfall, lighter than the first, softer than memory. He looked at the sky and smiled. He understood now what the human meant all those years ago. Miracles were not myths. They were moments when someone chose to care even when it was easier to look away. And across the stars, the universe began to change its mind about humanity.